Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Today, one of my favorite people out there in the world is my guest, Cassie Parks. She is literally the fairy godmother for people who want to be better with money. Through her Positive Reality podcast, her many books, I think she's up to 7, 8 at this point, and her online coaching program, she shakes up your approach to creating powerful money stories while making it all feel really easy, practical, and of course, fun. Welcome, Cassie.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
You know, it's a great topic. I love it. You've been doing this for a long time. And I also want to mention, and I always say it, one of my favorite podcasts is Manifest It Now with you and Ginny Gain. There's over 300 episodes, I believe, at this point. And I know this year you've, if you're looking for it right now, everybody, they've moved to doing seasons. So check it out and go to manifestitnowpodcast.com or...
Absolutely. Manifest anywhere you find a podcast, just put in Manifest It Now. That's usually what I tell people.
Yeah, that's awesome. So first of all, I mean, for those that don't know you, you know, you pretty much retired pretty young and have been very successful, really, really just in this money game. But tell us, how long has it been since you first started to realize that you could somehow intend and use your mind and your emotions to sort of create more of the money reality you wanted?
Oh, I love this question because it speaks to where people get off. So the first time I realized it, I was 13 years old. I was in choir and there was a fundraiser. If you sold so many things the first night, there was a drawing the next day and they were going to give away 5 $20 bills. And so I went home, I sold my things. That was pretty easy. And then before I went to bed, I closed my eyes and I visualized sitting in my seat in the choir room and seeing them pull out the paper and calling my name and walking down and getting my $20. And the next day, I was the third name called and got my $20. And so that's the first time I ever remember using the law of attraction to manifest money.
Did you know what you were doing that night before, or were you just sort of daydreaming about it as a kid, just being in that play mode?
No, I was visualizing. Like I knew, I was an athlete, so I had some interaction with visualization. I had always been into psychology. So I knew what I was doing. But it was the first time, that I had, I think, tried it and made it work.
Yeah. Why is money manifesting great for learning how to leverage the law of attraction?
Because we interact with money every day. So every day we're having these choices. We get these opportunities to connect with our thoughts about money and, really just interact and see how it's working. Money is also a great way to keep score, which, tells us how well are we doing? Like, when we're paying attention, we can see that a little more than when we're manifesting maybe love.
Yeah. And it is interesting because it's a part of every day, all day, things you don't even see or know, right? Someone gets a tax return in the mail. Like there's so many money things all over the place to work with and play with.
Yes, absolutely. You get so many choices. Do I get coffee in the morning? Do I not? Do I, take this job? Do I work overtime? We're constantly interacting. And so it gives us so many opportunities to practice.
Let me ask you, can you run through the various money stories briefly so that people out there can kind of go, uh-oh, that's me.
Absolutely. Hey, Elle.
Yeah.
You
want to pause? Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start with survival. Survival is the money story where you hot potato money, as I call it. So there's money or there's not. Another way to describe survival is feast or famine. So you might, you either have money or you have no money and you're very panicked. Like this is a stressful story because you're always trying to figure out where the money is going to come from. And it's that adrenaline that becomes mostly about the story. So this is the way it plays out in life is you're going 100 miles an hour or you're crashed out. Like I said, you have money or you're panicked about where it's going to come from. And like I said, you hot potato money. So what that means is even when survival gets extra money, they have to get rid of it because the actual comfortable place, is to not have it.
Yeah. It's the struggle. Yeah. That's it's
Mhm.
almost addiction to that struggle without even knowing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So then there's just enough, which is a lot like survival, but it's not stressful. There's not that addiction to that being in that place of panic. It's just doesn't get you very far. Kind of life becomes blah because when the brakes go out, oh, I'll get $300. But if you get an extra $1,000, something like the hot water heater is going to break because it always just balances out. So saving for anything like that trip to Paris gets very far away. You don't believe it's possible.
Mm. It's rough.
Yeah. And
hey, I've been guilty of probably a combination of a few of these that you're going to read off, and I understand it, but I'm hearing it. You just go, you feel sort of sad for your old self.
You do. I know. Oh, I just had that with a client I'm training as a coach this morning. She is a former money chaser, which is also my story at one point. And we were going through this and we found this point in her life where the story played out, everything was good. So money chasers, they chase money. These are the people that always have a new business idea. And it's always going to be the one that, makes $1 million. If you've been in more than 3 MLMs, you're probably a money chaser.
And if you've been in more than 3 MLMs, you need to actually get coaching probably.
Yeah. Because you're always chasing and it's about the chase. Most money chasers never even stop to see, like, do I have enough money? What do I want money for? It's just about chasing. And so I was going through with her today, and she could even see how this played out when she was a massage therapist and everything was good. So she'd finally achieved this place where everything was amazing. She was making amazing money, to pay for everything that she wanted and only working about 20 hours a week. And she got injured. And we went through and there was no choice because you didn't know how to undo this story. So the only way to put you back in that money chaser situation was for you to get hurt and kind of lose this particular opportunity to make money.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
what was your personal money chase? You said you were a money chaser. What at one point, what was that for you? What did that feel like then in the contrast to, how it is now? Obviously it's a little bit different. You don't have to give a soliloquy on that. We can get into it later, but yeah, Yeah,
it was different. I chased money. I never stopped to think about, it would be like, oh, I can make $50 an hour doing this, or it was probably like 30 back then, $30 an hour doing this catching lesson. Never mind that I had to leave work early and it would, take me time in traffic and gas. And it wasn't making like $30 or $50 an hour. It was taking me 2 hours to do this. So I was really making about $12 an hour. That's one example, but I was always I constantly had a new idea for what would make money. I was always chasing money, I was chasing it in my business. I was chasing a million ideas, a lot.
And I'm assuming, there was no passion and real joy and true purpose behind that, right? It was just about the money, because you're good at a lot of things, right? And that's a lot. I can see that happening with a lot of people. It's like, well, I'm good at that. I could probably make money at that. I could make money there without stopping to be like, do I even want to do that?
Right. I think I liked a little bit of everything that I was doing. But I didn't, love it enough. There were moments where I'd take, I don't know, something like once I was cleaning, but I really needed the money then. But mostly it was just that chase. It was that idea, I can get more. And so sometimes there was joy, in my business, it was all built. All the chasing was around helping people and doing what I wanted to do. It just was idea after idea instead of diving in and doing it. Those were my days where I say I was doing the law of attraction. I thought I was not.
Right. And are the perils and pitfalls of the money chaser that which we just touched on a little bit earlier, which is you will always then put yourself in a situation where you do have to chase, which could bring a negative result?
Yeah. If you're not paying attention, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And most people keep chasing long after they actually have the money. And this is true for me. When I started doing the work on my money mindset, I had to realize oh, you have the money, but you're so busy chasing, trying to get more, because money chasers will also make investments easily. Like, oh, this might make me money. I'll throw down the $5,000.
Right.
Okay. They're the quickest to do that.
Interesting.
Let's see. So I was also at one point a hot mess, which is, these all got named by me hearing the same thing over and over. And a hot mess really is that there's somebody who's never had trouble with money. Money was always pretty easy. It would come and it would go. They never really had to think about it. It was just always there and no stress whatsoever until they get to this point in their life where something makes them stop. Maybe they lose a job, or maybe they just want to, buy a bigger house or do something. And they look back at their life and they go, I should have more to show for this. Yeah. And that's
a tough day.
It is a tough day. Yeah. And it's really because it's never been a problem until then. And then all of a sudden it's this, which is really cool because all of these are spiritual journeys, but it becomes this very spiritual journey, especially for a hot mess. Yeah. And then there's your hold tights. These are the people who will, drive across town to save 5 cents on gas. Spend an hour.
My father was that guy, like 3 different stores because the green beans were cheaper over there. I'm like, I don't know if it's making up for like the gas and the mileage.
Right. Exactly. It's not like most of the time it's not, but they're holding so tight and they get their, their worth and some of their joy from it's more about the discount than the living. Yeah.
Well, what are some other, that seems like a light disadvantage or peril to that money story. What are some other downsides as to why that needs to be looked at? Because if you were one and you're out there, you might be like, all right, that doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah. Hold tight. What I hear from hold tights is that they are afraid they're missing opportunities because they hold so tight. And they won't let go. Like maybe they miss out on investment opportunities or they don't join that program because they're holding on so tight.
Right. So they're missing out on some potential enjoyable things in life.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is that the last one?
That is the last one. So those are the 5.
All right. So what are the biggest things that keep people from manifesting in general and manifesting money?
Oh, I love this question. I see this all the time. I think the biggest thing is, all of these are big things, but one of the biggest is, it starts to work or you want it to work. And when you decide it's not working, however that looks for you, right? Like maybe you don't see money flowing in right away, or, you set out to do something, it doesn't show up in 3 days. What people do is they go study more, they go learn more, they go look for what they're doing wrong.
Ah, yes.
Like just deep dive into that.
That sort of is on the line of people who never do the thing and they're always in preparation, right? Or always, and you're like, how many courses do you have to take like in order till you feel right? Like, and it's happened, and not too long ago with someone who was wanting to run a course. And she was telling me that she was like, well, I'm going to do a test group on it. And I was like, no, you don't need a test group with your friends. Like that's stalling. Let's get going. Just, you know your stuff. It's time to go. Again, sometimes we can do little moves. They're not necessarily in procrastination. They could be perfectionism. But again, that idea of waiting and waiting when you're ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so people it is along those same lines. Like, I must be doing it wrong. Let me go learn. And then their head is full of a million things that they're supposed to be doing. I can see this when I'm coaching people. I'll get certain answers. And while there's no right answers, as I tell people in my program, I can see when this is like a true to you answer. And when it's an answer that's been filtered through all of these things that you think you should do, or how manifesting works.
Yeah. And, one of the things you talk about and is just sort of a pillar of this discussion really is going too big or too fast, but like going too big, too fast, really. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, okay, really? Well, then I'll just manifest the Jaguar. And you're like, you know what? Why don't you start off with like a cup of coffee and work the magic on a little bit of you build it up? Because, and I guess you would agree with me here, is that because your belief in that hasn't been developed and cultivated through practicing law of attraction, right? You are just shooting for like something which is why a lot of people don't win the lottery. And we've all been playing for 100 years, right? It's because the odds don't really favor our believability. Like that statistic somehow is hard for a lot of people to really believe that it could happen. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that that happens with a lot of big things. And also those big things, I don't know, like maybe you would see it as resistance, but maybe it's a holding on type of thing, but you're like, I gotta get like, this has to come, like I have to manifest this. Right. But when you're like trying to manifest something small or something innocuous, like, yeah, I just, I could use a grill pan. And then 2 days later, your friend's like, hey, I got a new grill pan in my house. I've never used her. Right. And because it's usually the throwaways, right? The ones we don't have any resistance to. I know that was a long intro to a soupy thing I want you to get into, but can you touch on the go too big, too fast?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll use the money example, totally what you're talking about, the Jaguar. So a lot of people will come in, and I saw this in the beginning of my program. When I started, I just said, okay, say however much you want to manifest. And, the people who would go, oh, $1 million in 90 days, right? Like your brain can't handle that. You don't have that believability that you're talking about. You don't have, if you don't have success in manifesting $100, it's going to be real hard to believe you can just manifest $1 million out of the blue sky.
Yep.
And so people push that though, like, oh, I want to go for $1 million. And they try like to go at that really hard and really fast. And it just doesn't. You do need to start with that free cup of coffee. Right? Start with $10, $1,000, $100 and build up, because that's where you learn, the magic. That's where you learn, oh, okay, when I focus on this or I focus less, I just intend it once. Right. So, because for example, you use the term throwaway. Like if you just said, oh, I want to manifest $10, basically you're setting that intention once and letting it go. But if somebody says,
I'm joking, but I'm like, I look down as we're podcasting and there's somebody, no, just like that's how quickly it would probably come in at this point with manifesting. But I agree though, the little stuff like that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And so, and part of that, it's you ask for it one time versus $1 million. Then people are going into, I'm a millionaire. I'm going to say this 1,000 times a day. I'm going to watch a millionaire video. I'm going to I'm going to make a millionaire vision board. I'm going to put, $1 million. I'm going to, put my private plane. Like you're putting so much energy, which seems like the right answer, but it's desperate energy.
Right. There's where the resistance is, right? Because resistance sounds intentional. And I guess to the audience, we're not saying that resistance is like you resisting against it, but by pushing too hard, like what you're talking about is in and of itself sort of keeping you away from it. It's almost not faith.
Exactly. I would say it's definitely not faith because, you're pushing. And like you said, it is keeping, like I have this vision when you said that, like you're pushing the door closed, something trying to get in. And it's just like, no, because you're just doing that with all of your energy instead of building up and letting go and living.
Or what about, I guess the way I just thought it really, right? Coming to you, inviting it in, being a receiver versus a getter.
Yes. Oh, those are so big things. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
I feel like, I love Mark Allen. He's the the founder of New World Library. And his whole thing is the Type Z guide, the lazy person's manifesto. It's all about like how to just, even in the book, he says at the beginning of it, hey, if you're too lazy to read this book, just read the bulletin sections.
I love it.
And he publishes every book we love. He publishes all of Eckhart Tolle's book. He's a multi-gajillionaire. And he doesn't wake up till 1:00. He is the self-identified laziest person. I've interviewed him. I've taken courses from him and I love him. And the reason I, even though I'm type A, you're type A in a lot of ways, and we are go, go, go. And we have good energy like that. And even though we're not his energy, which is totally like musician hours, 15 naps a day, like even the way he speaks, but I love being in his energy because it's proof that you don't have to go, get, right? You just have to be in the right vibration and think the right thoughts and visualize the right things, and his publishing partner, Shakti Gawain, back in the day, wrote Creative Visualization. And so I just love him. And the reason I stay in his class is because I just like to tap into how it's a reminder of the not pushing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you asked, I don't know if we ever got back to it, money chaser. That's who I was. I was that pusher. Like a lot of money chasers are type A, like they push, they go, and that's who I was. And the difference now that I don't live this story is I let things come to me. I have an investment that I'm getting ready to start work on. It's an eightplex and a house, and I'm going to build this whole amazing thing. But that came to me during playing cards, having fun with my friends.
Yes.
It didn't come by going and searching out like, oh my God, what's happening next? What can I find? It happened because honestly, a friend wanted to distract me. She was on the opposite team. And she's like, hey, I drive by this eightplex all the time. You should look at it.
Well, and I know you've had people in your class who are your group, coaching program. I'm sure you've had a few of these where they come in and then they're like feeling like, oh, I'm in a challenge. And then like, now I've got to like prove it to myself or prove it to other people because I spoke it out loud. And then they're looking for it everywhere, which kind of goes into the pushing harder when it doesn't work, which you talk about a little bit. Can you get into that kind of vibration of it, kind of headed towards manifestation? Because that still is, again, I think, right, the resistance. But it's
pushing harder.
Yeah, but it's them looking everywhere, like not letting it go. Can you speak about that nuance?
Yeah, I don't see as much. I mean, I do see people looking for it everywhere. But that really gets into it's not here. If
Right.
anyone is looking for it, what happens in my experience is then they start, it's not here, and they get down that path. And when they think it's not here, it's not coming, is really when I see people start pushing harder. And what I've seen that look like is, oh, let me go do 10 more things. Let me add on. Oh,
Right.
I heard once so-and-so said, they get up at 7 and say, I'm amazing 5 times. So let me add that into my routine, right? Not really, does that feel good to me? Do I want to do it? But, oh, that must be what I'm missing. And so they just keep pushing harder, doing more things, which is being less of a receiver.
Right. And it is the lack in the belief that it can just show up without you trying in some way, right? Efforting.
Yes. Without putting that effort, or I call it the how. I will often call my clients like, oh, you're howing that. That's all how.
Yeah. Or I love how Mike Dooley calls it the cursed house, right? Because he says you're limiting an otherwise unlimited universe and unlimited possibilities when you try to make it happen. And that happens at the beginning. I think that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people would come right into your class, maybe from the beginning when you first start, these are the trip ups, right? These are the things we're talking about that kind of trip people up. What about getting caught in shoulds instead of moving forward to what feels good? You've mentioned that before.
Absolutely. People get all these shoulds I think there's really 2 ways of living when you get into this stuff. And it's surrendering, following the law of attraction, choosing what you want. It exists whether we are putting energy into it, but, we get caught. There's 2 words. There's the should world of, oh, this is how you build a business. This is how you make money. This is this. Oh, you have to follow up with people 50 million times if you want something, or all of these rules that people who are generally driven. And I think that's a lot of who's attracted to the law of attraction, because we know we're in charge of our destiny and we're driven to be better. It's also sometimes what gets in our way when we're trying to use the law of attraction. But when you've consumed these other things about how you should do things in the world or build your business, it's harder to let go and receive, as we've been talking about, because you have all these stories in your head. Well, so-and-so said I should follow up 6 times. So-and-so said I should post on social media 10 times a day. So-and-so said I should have a profile on every account. We get so caught up in these shoulds that it makes it hard to let go.
Yeah, that happened with my first book. I've mentioned it before, where so many people prior to that were like, well, you should do this and you should do that. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm just going to use the law of attraction. People were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm not worried about it. Like, I'm good with it. I believe in it. And such evidence of that was when someone was like, it's like a couple days after it was released. And they're like, oh my God, I'm sure you like totally on Amazon reading all the reviews. I'm like, no, not at all. In fact, no. not even going. In fact, I haven't read all of them. I've only read some because it took so long and there were so many. And then one day someone was like, it's been a couple of years. Maybe you should read your reviews. But the reason is because first of all, I had faith in it. Right. But if I were to detail that to someone, I would say, because checking every day is also, and talk about, confidence, my subject of my second book, is looking for validation for people to like me. I like it. I love it. I'm glad it's out there. If I help one person or if not, I'm proud of myself. And even if no one ever reads it, I'm good with it. And I think that would be such a resistant state. I naturally didn't have to go there. It wasn't like I was trying not to. I was literally like, no.
Yeah. Well, because I think you've done the work before, right? Either you never took on anyone else's shoulds, or you've done the work to realize like, no, this feels good to me. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. What about this concept in tripping up people or keeps people from manifesting is they go wide instead of deep?
Yeah. So often, again, we're looking for that magic bullet, or people come, before they've really got the work and made it work, looking for that next thing, which again is this resistance. It's this thing keeping you from getting what you want, is that I must not be doing it all. There must be something else. And so when it starts working, even times, it'll be working for people, and I will see them, whatever it is that they're doing, I'll see them go try and add something else. If it's working, like the work works, whatever it is in the law of attraction. For me, it's money manifesting and scripting, a deep dive into your future self. And I am proof that you can just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper in the same work. You don't have to go wide and be doing, a new thing. There is so much value in doing the same thing because it just gets deeper and deeper. I always describe this as when I was in Italy. Huh?
I love this. Yeah.
Thank you. I was in Italy. Then the date just popped up 6 or 7 years ago. I was writing a book. We were staying. There's an.
Oh my God. I've known you like probably 10 years now because I'm realizing I remember when you went to Italy.
Yay. I know it's amazing how long we've known each other. I was thinking about that the other day too. But we're staying at this vineyard, and it's a vineyard / olive grove, and it has an infinity pool. And in the distance, you can see the Mediterranean. And there's like a hill. It's not a mountain, but it's a hill on one side of the road, on one side of the pool. And when you come out of the house and you look every day, you would see something different. Like literally your brain couldn't take in, for me, somebody who had never been to Italy, Tuscany specifically in this moment, this was all new. The plants looked different. And I remember one of the days I thought, oh, that looks like this plant in Kansas. And a couple of days later, I was like, that looks nothing like that. But it was what my brain could grasp onto at that moment. And every time you'd come out one day and you'd see the sunflowers that you hadn't seen the 3 days before, they'd always been there. But until you could take in this whole beautiful picture day after day, because you can only take in so much information at a time, you just see more and more, and you'd see this little road on the hill, and you'd see more of the Mediterranean and see these other new plants. And it happened day after day for the 7 or 10 days that I was there. And that's depth, like going wide is spending one day there and moving on to a new place. And you're only ever getting to see like day one, because you can only take in day one. But depth is staying and coming out and looking every day and being willing to see, that's there too. Like that's there. I missed that little bird or that animal, or there's a new sound, or the sun looks so different this way, or look how it reflects off of that, or look at this new tree. That's the depth. And when you start doing whatever the work is that works for you in manifesting over and over again, it just goes deeper and it works better than doing a new thing and a new thing and a new thing.
I like that. I like that so much, really getting into simmering in that. And let's talk about stepping into your future self and scripting. I think, could you just give a brief example? For example, let's say I really want, to go on a vacation to Hawaii and be, in a pool overlooking the tropical jungle, whatever. And that's sort of something that's not necessarily my entire future self, but something I want to manifest. So I know there's sort of scripting your future self and also scripting maybe for a specific thing you might want. I don't know which way you want to go, but can you give us a little example of what that would sound like when we write it? Because it has to be right in the now, or that it already happened.
It already happened in the past.
Right.
So because our brain doesn't argue with that. So if we were to say right now, I'm at the beach and it's beautiful and the sun's shining, like my brain is like, no, you're not. You're at your pool. You can see it out your window. Like, yep. You're at your house. Right. But if I were to write tonight, I woke up and I saw the waves and I did this, there's just not this resistance for our brain. Because it's not happening right now. It's not taking in the information right now. And there's a lot of reasons about the way our brain works that is. But I always just take that as truth. There's not a resistance. I don't look around and go, no, you weren't there this morning, right? I get into, saw the waves. I saw the palm trees blowing, putting it in first person as well, because it's happening to us, right? And so anytime that we can script through our own eyes and through our own senses, it's happening to us. It's activating all of those things inside our body. The same way, when they first started studying visualization on athletes, they're like, oh, we hook up these electrodes to their brain. And when they're running, the same things in their brain are firing when they're visualizing it as when they're actually running.
Yeah. The mental rehearsal for athletes, that study's no joke. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what's happening. You're rehearsing being this person who wakes up and can see the waves crashing and the palm trees blowing and hears the waves and, maybe sees a turtle. I was just in Hawaii, so we saw the turtles in our waves outside of our window. But can, see that, can feel the humidity. If you're from a dry place, right, it's going to feel different. Who can smell those flowers and that vegetation that is so Hawaii. And so when you can talk about that as if it's already happened, your brain is preparing that, because our brains create our current reality based on past memories. And so if we can put that new memory in, it's going to look to create that. It's going to look to help us and focus on how we get there.
Yeah. Let's talk about stepping into one's future self and why that creates lasting changes versus trying to fix something. I would see the immediate objection out there being someone like, well, how am I supposed to actually step in and be this future person with these characters, with these things or qualities about myself that I might want to change if I'm not fixing them first?
Yes.
Or not doing them anymore, or whatever the thing is you're trying to fix about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Because we're putting that energy in fixing, we are putting energy in that thing we don't want. And it can be a very big concept, like, oh, I don't have to go through this list of 100 things to fix, because we're taught that. I think we've been taught that in school. How do we do it better? Like, what can you, it's always, how can you get better? Not how can you become the person who is good at this. Right. And so
how do you see yourself then, or give me an example maybe of either someone who went through this, something that changed about yourself, and maybe it's not manifesting things, maybe it's a way of being someone wishes to change.
Yeah, it is a way of being. I'm going to use this example that literally happened a couple hours ago. It was the same client that discovered, massage. She injured herself to keep as a money chaser. I'm actually training her to be a coach. So we were doing some little different training, and we went into it and we were talking about money. And I said, and that, like, step into this possibility that you can make $900 a week for 2 hours or $900 a month for 2 hours a week, or, $900 a month for 4 weeks or whatever. And her first reaction was, oh, but I let my massage license go, da, 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 da. And I said, no. And most people would go try to fix that. They would come up with a plan. Right. Like, oh, okay, well, this is how you do da, 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 da. And I said, no, that's a how.
Yes.
Let's open to this possibility. You could go back to doing what you love And let's just enjoy the possibility that you could go back to doing what you love. You could make more money in less time, and it would be awesome. And your body could handle it. It would be not even handle it. It would be great. And then in the next breath, she goes, oh, I already have a workaround. I have a minister's license, so I can actually call it a healing, and I don't need my massage license.
Like pain in the ass, how eliminated immediately.
Immediately, right? Just because we're like, no, let's go to that place in the future where this is amazing. And the answer comes.
And you're not 5 steps from it in your mind now, because this is something you have to go and do and all the things.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it works with those big things too. Who am I when you're thinking, who am I in a relationship that feels really good? I had a client who did this. She really wanted her significant other. She didn't care so much about the drinking. It was what he smelled like when he woke up after drinking. And she was just like, all right, I'm not going to put my focus in this. Like when I'm scripting, I am going to focus on, it smells good when I wake up. He has since, this is perfect. He's since found keto and stopped drinking. Of
all the things.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yes. Spending so much of my time talking about that on the other podcast. Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And I love it too. It's again, sometimes other people will change around you. You can't necessarily attract for a person, but sometimes the external environment and situations do change. And the truth is that it certainly won't unless you do, but also putting out that vibe. So good for her. She's going to do everything she can to keep that partner on keto. Like,
yeah. And it's easy because she already did it easy, right? It was like, what do I want? Right. But we always get so focused on what do I want? Oh, what do I have to fix to get there? She's like, have to do anything, just have to script and be the person who wakes up and it's divine smelling.
I know you have some money, life, and just fun stories, obviously. And we might have covered this on the last podcast, but I'm just going to do a brief, quick, and we've done so many. I think I've interviewed like 4 or 5 times in the past. But just as a recap, I manifested Cassie. I had listened to her podcast and known about her work years ago. And I thought, I want to hang out with her. Like, I'd like to meet her, and I just kind of was like, just through it. I wasn't like trying to make it happen. I didn't call you and it wasn't like, hey, we should try to make a plan. I was just like, I would love to hang out with her. And I believed that I would. And then, randomly, you just called me one day and you were like, hey, I happen to be in LA. I love the story. I'm laughing through it. Like, I happen to be in LA. I'm with my PR person. Or something fell through with our Airbnb. Do you know, or where do you have any suggestions? And I was like, I'm in a 4,000 square foot mansion right now. I'm house sitting for Mark Sisson. Why don't you just come over here? And we had mansion party for a couple of days, just the 3 of us hanging out, and then got to go walk on the beach and go out to eat. And I mean, it was like better than me just being like, oh, that'd be nice to hang out with Cassie one day. I got better than what I had imagined in that moment where I thought to hang out with you. I was probably thinking, oh, it'd be nice to like meet her for dinner or something sometime, or meet her at an event, or right. It just was like a throwaway. Mm-hmm. I got way more than that. Like we were slumber party.
Yes. Oh, and I remember, so part of this story that I think is important for manifesting too is I think it was after my first interview, the first time you had interviewed me. And you said, you sent me the email, which is kind of what triggered, oh, like, hey, yeah, I'm here. Hey, your episode's coming out. And there was something in it that was right. Like, oh, I had to push it because there was something else, like someone else needed to come first. Right. And so even if you would have said that and this hadn't happened, I'd be like, oh, it's perfect. But it was so often people would think that, oh, my episode had to be pushed back. Like that's a bad, like, no, that was all lining up for us to have this connection because maybe, it's kind of in the groove and maybe I would have thought about it and maybe I wouldn't. But when I got that email with you, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm so close to you. Like, do you want to get together? Right.
Right. That's right. I forgot about the precursor to that, which was, I probably emailed you say, hey, I'm going to have to like bump it or something or release it because someone maybe had a book release that I had to shovel in there. Yeah, no, I forgot that. And so had I not sent that, perhaps you in your mind would not have remembered. It's not like we were talking every day. We are just, here and there catching up or interviewing, but that's about it. So anyway, I just love that story. But what's like one of your, that's just between us, obviously, like our story, but what's one of your favorite just LOA stories of your life? Like a really, just one that really sticks out to you. There's hundreds, right? There's just so many, but
yeah.
What's like a one that you're like, this was a really good one?
This is one, and it's actually inspired. It's part of Manifest 10K. It's my purple couch story. And I don't think I've told it in an interview with you. So I'm go with that one. Cause obviously I loved manifesting the love of my life and my kid and my financial freedom and my pool and all of those things. But I really love these stories just as much. So, my purple couch, when I decided to change, money to manifest 10K, I always do what I ask my clients to do. So I was going through it before I made the change. And on my manifest 10K list, I had moved, I had manifested a new place, but my couch didn't fit through the door because it was a different configure. It was on the same floor of the building where I was living, but the vents were different. And so we went to take my couch in, it didn't fit, even though it had fit on a different floor. And so I needed a new couch, which I wasn't expecting. So that went on my 10K list. I'm going to buy a couch. And, a couple of weeks later, one of my friends posts like, hey, I have this free couch. And I was like, oh, that's not the couch, but that'll work. And I can practice having the couch. And I had wanted to try out, like, do I want the Chase lounge at the end, or do I just want like a regular couch and a love seat? And it worked out perfect. My mom she was in the mountains and she was coming down. I'm like, hey, can you just swing by and we can grab this in the truck? And she's like, yeah, of course. Well, so I had that for a while. I actually got 2 couches. And then, I was at home and one of my tenants, he texts me, he's like, hey, I locked myself out. I'm sorry. Is there any way you can come let me in? I'm like, sure, no problem. Cause I was not at work. I was doing my own thing. And I unlocked the door and I walked in, and he can tell I'm kind of looking around because there's this purple couch and he has 2 couches stacked on another. And he was actually buying another place for me. He was renting this one and he was getting ready to buy another one. And I'm looking, he's like, I'm sorry, it's a mess. I said, oh, I don't care. I was just looking at how cool that couch is. Like, it's very cool purple couch. And he goes, oh, do you want it? And I was like, maybe. I said, you don't want it? He goes, no, I wanted that yellow one. And I got it from my coworker. He goes, it's like some big name brand. He goes, and she kind of made me take the purple one because I had a truck and she didn't want it. He goes, but I just wanted the yellow one. So I was going to get rid of it. And I was like, yeah, I do. And so not only did I couldn't have even put this couch on a vision board because I'd never seen one like it, but it was so perfectly me, and it was purple and I liked the design. Him and his friend delivered it. They brought it up, they carried it in. I had to do nothing. And it just showed up in the way that, oh yeah, he locked himself out. Otherwise I would have never seen that couch. I wouldn't have known. I don't think he would have thought to offer me the couch. He would have thrown it up on Craigslist or whatever and tried to get rid of it. But yeah, I really love that story because I love that couch. It's now my dog's couch. They have their own couch.
Still valuable, but you've moved on beyond it.
Well, they kind of took it over and I had to give one of them. So I chose my newer couch for me.
What's a situation where you really felt, and I know there's many, because people, like I said, they enter into your program and your group and they might be novices at first. Some of them may be really along the road, but then they really have some, it's so fun, right? To see people stick with it and then get to where they've really done a 180. What are some, stories that come to mind, or a story that comes to mind where someone really, wasn't in belief, really thought, or at the low, and then really just soared?
Oh man. So I have a single mom who started just about 3 years ago. And her life was not great. And money was not great. She was working on starting her own business. And even I remember reading some of her first scripting of like one of the best days she could come up with, or, that was the assignment, and thinking like, okay, like this is the furthest she could dream. Because for some of us, it wouldn't even have been like a great day, but I was like, all right, like we're going to do this. And so, like I said, that was probably 2 to 3 years ago. And last weekend, she texts me with all of these beautiful pictures. She's on a luxury vacation in Mexico. She's in a white robe, which was very significant for stepping into her future self. Like, I mean, beauty after beauty. And, she even told me, she said, I found this place because she did two vacations in one. She did a glamping experience, like on the beach, and then she stayed at a different hotel. And she's like, I found this experience by searching luxury. And I never would have searched that before I did the future self work with you. And love so that. To see her living literally this dream life that wasn't even a possible thought for her 3 years ago. I mean, literally, wasn't even, any part of even dreaming, but she's now living. For me, that's amazing, because I'm all about living your life and living the life that you want to, whatever that looks like, right? And that might be total luxury. That might be a cabin off grid. And all of those are perfect, but it's creating the path to the life that you want to live, that I love.
Do you have a hard out, or can we go a few minutes over?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, we can go.
Okay, great. Because I got some questions for you, and I don't want to also miss some other things. A lot of people, and I know you get this question a lot, how do you act as if you have money if you don't have the money to do it, or do the thing, or act in the way that you would if you had money?
Oh, yes. Acting as if is stepping into that beingness of the person. It's not doing the thing. So you can act as if without money. So many people get tripped up on this, like, oh, how do I experience luxury if I don't have the money? You can be as simple. I just mentioned the white robe, right? If there's white robes at this luxury spa that you would love to go to someday, get yourself a white robe. Like, sit in that luxury, as much of it as you can get, and act as if, make yourself a tea, sit down in a comfortable chair like you would be at the spa, enjoy your robe, enjoy like sitting there relaxing, because there's so much more than the money that's spent. Generally, you're spending the money for the experience. And so if you can act as if as much in the experience and get yourself that taste of it, you're creating. It doesn't require money. It requires your ability, going back to what we were talking about earlier, to receive that experience and create that for yourself. And so that's just one example of how you can do that.
Yeah, you have to feel the feeling of already having the thing before the thing can arrive, which is a tough thing for people to wrap their head around. But that's the acting as if. It's the feeling as if, almost, right? It's getting into the feeling, because you could look at a vision board or look at, luxury spas all day, but like you said, you have to get into the feeling. And so if, there's a story in Florence Scovel Shinn's book where someone wanted a horse, and the only thing she could sort of afford that would give her that vibe was she bought a crop. Right? Like, or the robe, or get your favorite mug that you saw from where, if you want beautiful flatware at your dining room table to throw parties, get one piece, get one teacup, or of that, anything that it is that's a thing. Or if it's an experience, then you do have to generate, again, the feeling of the experience, like you talked about earlier with the Hawaii and the humidity and the smells and the getting into the sensory experience of it. And it is a level of pretending, but it works. So what do you got to lose, everybody? You really have nothing to lose. And I want to talk about Manifested 10K. By the way, I took this many years ago. It's sort of pay after you manifest. You don't have to pay anything for it. Or is it still $1, or is it just free?
It's complimentary to start, and then you pay when you manifest.
Right. So Manifest 10K, this is really great. I did it. And I think in the time that I listened to it and ran it, it was about 3,000, which I wasn't upset that I didn't make the 10. It was just nice to get that. And one of the things I remember, a few things came in that were really unexpected. And one was me just randomly discovering, and I don't know how this got overlooked, but that I had been like paying for a yoga place they had been charging me for like a year or more.
Mhm.
and I didn't know or something. And then like, they basically were like, oh, here's $1,800. Right. And then, and then it was something else too. So it wasn't like cash in my hand, but it was cash in my hand. But you know what I'm saying? It was a unexpected transaction situation. And then the other was, having someone give me like a brand new, quite expensive air conditioning unit. And I had been like looking at some and thinking about it. And then I just mentioned to someone, I was like, yeah, it's sort of starting to get hotter up here. I think I need, and she was like, oh, we are getting a whole new thing and we are giving away, we were just going to put them on like Craigslist. Well, I'd rather just give it to you. And I was like, what? And that was about $500. And so you count the things that come in, like, yes, I got a check from those people. Granted, it was my money back, but still. And then the other, just again, like a free $500 something that I just didn't have to spend. And it was, again, delivered to my door from my friend. And just so interesting. And I didn't I wasn't even thinking about those things. I didn't really think about manifesting an air conditioner as I was doing this, even though I had been looking for one. So sometimes it just shows up, and I forget what the other things were, but it added up to about like 3,000. And it was just so fun. It was fun to play. And it was so fun to go through the daily, mini podcasts, would you call it, the MP3s you have?
Yeah. So there used to be audios. Those haven't been updated because I've added so much to it. Like I think there used to be 30 days of material, but you counted for 90 days. That was the agreement. Now I would say there's at least 4 months of material, and it takes people anywhere from 6 months, like 4 months to a year to go through it, depending on how fast they're open. Right. And a lot of people will slow down because they realize I've been going too fast before. Let me slow down and soak in this assignment and make this adjustment.
I love it. So, and tell us about that. So, well, and also too, let's talk about your circle as well. Give us how we can benefit from you. You've got programs and direct access to you as well. Tell us all that you have so that we can manifest more money and get this together.
Absolutely. So if you want, the things to just get, there's podcasts, there's books, you can start there if that's where you want. But if you want that more intimate, that guided experience, it all starts with Manifest 10K, which you can choose to pay up front, or you can do pay after you manifest, whichever is easier for you in manifesting, right? Because we're all different, but you can apply and you go to payaftermanifest.com. You get to start and you get to do Manifest 10K. There's pre-work before it. Once you've completed the pre-work and you actually start Manifest 10K, you get to be in the Enchanted Circle. So not only do you get step-by-step, here's what to do every day, 20-minute assignments for 5 days a week, but you get access for up to 4 coaching calls a week, where you can jump on and say, hey, I'm stuck here, and get some guidance. Or you can jump on and listen, because very often someone else will ask a question that has nothing to do, but everything to do with what's going on in your head. Yep. And you figure it out by hearing other people, which is my favorite thing.
I love that so much. I love how my group class is like something someone says, which you think would have zero to do with the other person, just like they have an aha moment. And it's just like, it's just really fun.
It is. It's so much fun. I love that. And so then if you decide this is the circle you want to hang out in and you want to continue to grow, you make an investment for 5 years. And then we start doing the Future Self work, which is a very intense Future Self workshop that kind of kicks that off. And then all of the assignments that follow that are tied into your future self.
I love it. And then also, don't you have like a new Airbnb or something going on?
I do. I am working on this very like spa Airbnb at my place. I'm super excited. My love is she opened up. That was a manifestation that she opened up to this, and so I'm getting to create this spa Airbnb retreat on a smaller scale. I'm planning to build a bigger one, where coaches could come and bring people and do a workshop. And I had actually, Elle, you were you don't know this story yet, but you were on my list as I've been stepping into this over the past couple of years. I said, oh, I'll invite Elle. This is before you were doing a writing workshop. And I said, I'll invite Elle, and she can invite, 4 to 8 people, and she can do a writing workshop and a get it done workshop with them and try it out.
I love it.
And so I've wanted to do that. And now I'm going to do it here in Denver at my house. So, during those times of the year, it'll have access to my pool. Otherwise it'll, hot tub, cold plunge pool, sauna, a very cool rave room that I'm creating. So if people want to write or they just want to get away and create, it's a great space for that.
I love that. But you might have people like knocking at your door every 5 minutes. I'd be like, hey, I gotta go. I love that so much. And then also you have so many books as well. They're all on Amazon. From Manifest 10K, right? Is also 10,000 is also a book. And you have a fiction novel as well.
I do. Yeah. So I actually have 2 now of Choose Me and Own It, which are, all about the characters leverage the law of attraction and stepping into their power and creating their lives.
I love it. What's the best website to reach you at? Is it CassieParks.com? Is that where we should go for starter? Okay, great. What else would you like to leave our audience as we wrap up here in terms of law of attraction? People who are thinking about or hesitant maybe about even trying to test it out.
Oh, if you're hesitant, I would say jump into Pay After You Manifest, because when you're successful, that's when you pay. And I'm so confident that you can be successful if you show up and do the work, that I make that available to people. That's what I would say if you're hesitant. If you're just in general, the one thing I would want people to take away about the law of attraction is that it can be easy and it can be fun and it can work really well.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. And to everyone else, I will see you next week. Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture. And it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products. And I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.